Much like linking to other parts, we can have a layout sketch that drives a series of parts. SOLIDWORKS has a built-in layout function, and we can also use standard sketches to lay out designs. To start using a layout, we need to create the layout in the assembly mode of SOLIDWORKS. In this example, I've got a layout made for this part here, and I've got a sketch for the next part that we're going to be putting in there. Now you can tell we're in a layout mode because if you look up here at the very top of the tree, you can see this little wooden 4-bar mechanism. That means we're using a layout. So if I right click on that, I can go down to layout and I can take a look at that layout sketch. So it's a pretty simple sketch here. But basically I just got an octagonal shape here of 1/4 of an octagon. And then I've got a couple other lines here laid out for a little rib we're going to add to this design. I got to mention here that's driving the outside of that part. Okay, so if I go back and exit out of that layout. Now, by the way, to get into original layout, when I start a new file under assembly, click on OK. It gives me the option right when I start a new assembly. Do I want to create a layout? If I did click on that, it would just drop me directly into that kind of sketch mode in the layout portion of SOLIDWORKS to start just sketching out what our layout is. Now, nice thing about layouts, you don't need to worry about overlapping lines or having a complete sketch. It doesn't really matter because none of these entities are actually going to be directly used for creating geometry for an extrude or something like that. It's just the layout for that, and then we're going to convert those entities or link to them in our other sketches. So I'm going to go back to the part I have open, which is here, and we're going to go ahead and add in this new part. So adding a new part, we can do it several different ways. One is we can just go start, new part and then drag and drop it into the assembly and then mate it up. We always want to have our parts fully mated before we start working with them in context to these other parts. That way they're not going to move around and the sketches won't be skewed. So the second way would be to actually go to Insert Components, and under there is a thing called New Part. So if I click on New Part, it's going to allow me to actually put a part that's a virtual part inside of this assembly. Before we do that, we want to make sure, though, that we save out our assembly. So if you under File, do a Save As or Save to make sure you've got a nice file name saved to that, because that new part is going to be saved underneath that file name. So if I go to Insert Component, New Part, notice it drops a new part here, and I just click on OK. And this is a virtual part. It's just in this assembly. It's not saved anywhere on the file system right now at all. If I want to edit that part, I can just click on it and go to Edit Part. And what we want to do is create this little rib here. And to do that, I'm going to go down here to find the corresponding plane that would match up. So probably the front plane in this situation would work. That way it's on the bottom of this part. And we're going to go and sketch and start a new sketch there. Hit the space bar, which is then going to make it looking down on the part. So I've got these entities that are from the layout sketch, and I'm going to use those to lay out my design. Now these two down here, I can just convert those directly over. So I'm going to click on Convert Entities just by selecting the two, holding Control, and say Convert Entities. And those just bring those from the layout sketch directly into this sketch. Then we've got the line command, and I'm just going to start from that endpoint and drag it up here. Now, I don't want to go all the way to the end. I just want to come to the inside, and I'm going to snap to that intersection. Then I'm going to come over here and snap to that intersection, and then last one, I'm going to come all the way down here and snap there. So I'm just snapping to that underlying sketch and leveraging some of that layout geometry. Once I have the shape I want, I can say, okay, I want to go to now do a feature. And notice we're in the assembly mode, so some of the toolpaths are in a different order here. Boss Extrude's over here now. And we're going to type in 1/2 inch, 0.5, and click OK. And so then we just added this part to this assembly, and notice we're still in the editing mode. So if I want to go back to the assembly, I click here. Now I'm back into the assemble mode. I've got a couple parts here. Now this part here is a virtual part. If I want to save that out to the file system, I can right click on it and I can say save part in external file. There it is. And that'll actually save it out to the file system, but I don't need to do that quite yet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that layout sketch and I'm going to change the layout, and hopefully these two parts are going to automatically adjust. So let's go try that out. Go down here to layout, and instead of 24, I'm going to click on 36. Click on OK. You can see that sketch automatically adjusts. Go back and the part should rebuild, and notice both those two parts have now adjusted to that new layout sketch. So that sketch is driving both of those parts. Now I've created a circular pattern already with the circular pattern command, and I've got the parts rolled back a little bit here, so I'm just going to roll it forward. And I'm going to go take a look at that. So now I have the outside in the pattern, but I don't have this new part. So I'm going to go and add that in. And so components to pattern, I just have the first one. I'm going to add that second one in. There it is. And now I have all four sides of that thing complete. And I'm just going to go back one more time and see if we can change that layout. We're going to go look at the part straight on. And I'm going to drag this up a little bit and change that to 48. And And so you can see the layout sketch expands out. As soon as I go back, all those parts are automatically driven, and you can see the circular pattern automatically updates as well. Layouts can be very helpful to give the ability to drive a large amount of parts from the same layout. It also creates a clear order of what's driving what just by changing one single sketch.